Hello, everybody.
Hello, Hillary.
Get excited for tonight and today's episode, whatever time you choose to tune in.
Absolutely, because we are going to a very historic location, the Migliavacca Mansion, to meet up with Katie Migliavacca and her winemaker Vincent Traverso on a very historically steeped podcast.
It's like a field trip. It's like we're in 5th grade again.
We do a taste-off between ravioli and malfatti locations.
And we talk about farm animals, which is my favorite part of this podcast.
600-pound pig is involved. And I think this is the closest podcast we may come to actually getting canceled. So stay tuned.
I look forward to it.
Here we go.
Bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
Good evening, Hillary.
We're here on location in the big city.
The big city?
Well, bigger than St. Helena.
Pretty accurate.
I mean, how often do you really go past here on 29? I kind of just stop. It's like an electric fence. Like, ooh, nope, too far.
I mean, that is the balance of our podcast. We are the podcast that Napa Valley didn't know it needed.
And yet we still keep providing.
It still doesn't need it. No, it needs.
We're getting there. We're getting our swag.
Low production quality, high authenticity.
Exactly. Do you want to introduce our guest tonight?
I would love to introduce our guest. First, by stating that I'm not sweating because I'm nervous. I'm sweating because it's August in Napa, and we're in the incredible Migliavacca Mansion. I should say Migliavacca. It's not Migliavacca.
Whatever you want.
Migliavacca Mansion.
Can we say it so I can edit that little
Migliavacca. Migliavacca Mansion.
Here with Migliavacca.
Which, if you didn't already know, our wonderful guests tonight, Katie Migliavacca and Vincent Traverso. And I've known these two for quite some time. Vin a little bit longer than Katie, but really good friends of mine. Katie, 5th generation Napan. Her great-great-grandfather started this wine company we're going to talk about in 1866.
So
Vin, I don't know what was going on with his family in 1866.
Nothing good.
But he's here now, and that's all that matters. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This is so fun. Thanks for having us, and thanks for coming down to the big city.
It's an adventure.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the wines first?
Well, I'd like to know if you have any idea what we do on 911 Wine.
I would like you to tell me more.
Me too. Hillary, do you want to explain the goal of this podcast in case anyone here hasn't seen it before?
well, we try to find a perfect balance of incredible wine. Specifically, we try to do more local wine. Not always. I'm open to other territories. If someone would like to fly us to Italy, I'm open to that. And then we also talk about the local crime. So we try to find the perfect balance of it both.
I dig it. And which podcasts are we reading today?
So we're going to be doing April 2020, or excuse me, May. I'm off a month. May 2022. And then we have May 2016.
Perfect. Why did you pick May 2016?
Well, I feel like our guest can answer that question.
What is important about 2016?
It's the year that we made our first barrel of wine. And it's also the year that I met Vince.
So it's your anniversary.
Yeah, it's our anniversary. In fact, tomorrow will be the anniversary of when he signed the operating agreement. So he really gave his life away to me.
Are you going to have like a friend anniversary or a business anniversary party?
She's so good. She remembers all these dates. I don't remember what I signed or when I signed it, but it did make us partners in this project, and I guess it came not too long after we had met. I met Katie very, very shortly after I had moved back to the States, having been away for about a decade, and then I sort of made landfall back in Napa and was invited up to this weekend in Tahoe by some friends of ours. And I went as a guest to my friend, and she went as a guest to her friend, and I found out about Migliavacca Wine Company that weekend, and it's been going since then.
Yeah, so that was March of 2016, and then we we were in Tahoe, chatted more when we got back to Napa. I created the LLC. That was June. He had to sign the operating agreement in August 4th, in ink. And then we made our first barrel of wine in October.
I think that's where we went wrong. I never made you sign an operating agreement.
Nope.
It's not too late.
It's probably,
I mean, it was working out wonderfully.
it's probably not even filed though. I had this other wine company for the better part of 5 years like this, and
It's
then
filed.
and then we dissolved it. It was a really dear friend of mine, but it just wasn't going to be a partnership anymore. I'm now the godfather of his kid. We didn't divorce one another. It's just we stopped making wine together, and so I took the whole thing. But then I went to go adjust all of the ownership and everything, and it turned out because I was the one that had filed all this stuff, and him being a partner, it had never been a thing in the first place. It turns out.
Well, I filed everything, and it's something.
It actually is.
Yeah.
So we say 2016 was your first year of making wine, but it really wasn't. That's kind of a lie because Giacomo started making wine in 1866, right? So tell us a little bit. Well, I guess before that, what are we drinking today?
What's our first
Yeah.
round?
What's
We
the
have
first
our Rosato, we have our Vermentino, and we have our Sangiovese.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have in your cups, in your glasses right now, you just have the Vermentino and the Sangiovese.
Awesome.
And they're the first wines. The first barrel we made was the 16 Sangiovese, but that was exciting. And I don't know how that happened so sort of serendipitously, but the fact that 2016 is 150 years exactly after 1866, and so it had this beautiful sort of symmetry to it. Not that there's anything incredible about 150. But I will say that's sort of a word that we grew up learning and knowing because it was on all the license plates here in California for the better part of a decade. I don't know when, but when we were kids, don't you remember it used to say...
Migliavacca.
We're not so broke. No, it used to say sesquicentennial.
Yeah.
Sesquicentennial, which means 150 years.
There you go.
So we might maybe...
Of California.
California. Yeah. Because California became a state in
1850.
1849. No, 1848.
Okay.
So
For all your amateur history needs,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Vin is available.
Yeah, I was really impressed you just
That's
threw
pretty
down
good.
those dates because I missed that class.
Well, I mean that was the exciting part for me, and Katie can talk more about why that history is so special. But wine itself is a story, and it tells a story of a particular place, and a particular time, and a particular set of hands that made it. And when you think about a story of wine that reaches back 150 years in this place, and when you've been to so many other tasting rooms where you get, some newly minted wine aficionado who starts telling people that Napa only ever started making good wine after the French told us we did in 1976. And you hear it everywhere. Oh, the Judgment of Paris, the Judgment of Paris. And the wines are famous from it. And sure, we underwent a revolution, post-prohibition. But our labels have gold medals that Giacomo won. It's an exact reproduction of the label that he was using in the early 1900s. And those medals are from the World's Fairs in not only Chicago and San Francisco, but he was the largest, I think, exporter of American wine to Europe in the late 1800s. And there's a gold medal from Dublin, the World Expo, and his favorite, Katie.
The gold medal from the Paris Exposition of 1889. He was only one of 3 California exhibitors to win a gold for his red wine.
That's cool. And this is pre-Robert Parker, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Unless he has,
We'll still take the French telling us we were making good wine, but this time back in 1889, not in 1976.
That is really cool. So 1866, and then when did you revive the brand? When did it stop?
So 1866, he had moved here. He had immigrated from Pavia, Italy in 1857.
Mm-hmm.
Was in San Francisco for a bit, then was in Hornitos, and then moved to Napa in 1866. Had a grocery store on Brown Street, just a few blocks away from here. Started making wine in the back of the grocery store, and realized that people apparently like to drink wine, and so he decided to create the Migliavacca Wine Company. So at that time, it was in the back of his store, making it, selling it in his store, and then in 1874, he actually built a brick and mortar location, which is also, it's not standing today, but it's a few blocks away at the Napa County Library site. That's where it used to sit, as well as the Migliavacca Mansion, where we are today. And this house was moved in the 70s. Anyway, so he went on to make wine, was very successful during his time in business, had become one of the state's largest wine producers in the late 1800s, and had many business ventures, lots of real estate, different real estate holdings in downtown Napa. He actually built the largest commercial building in the county of Napa, second to Greystone, in St. Helena, in 1905, and that unfortunately is not here anymore.
That was where the clock tower is now, right?
Yes, that big empty plaza. Yeah, that was torn down in 1977 for urban redevelopment, and that's a bummer.
Never
but
redeveloped.
It had no. And so he was very successful making wine and in the wine industry, and I think that's where he made a lot of money initially, to be able to fund these other ventures like the real estate holdings that he had in downtown Napa, the developments that he didn't have any financial backers to build the commercial building that was in that location, but then also there's a building that is still standing that's across from the Archer Hotel that's Alpha Omega. It has their tasting room in there today. He was an early investor of the Bank of Italy, which the Bank of Italy actually was in the commercial building that from 1905, and had real estate in San Francisco. Anyway, Prohibition, his sons had closed. He had passed away in 1911. His sons were running the business at that time. 1919, his sons decided to close the business because of Prohibition. And I think, it's unfortunate they didn't try to persevere and keep it going, but I think that they had their hands in many other things that were lucrative and not going to be a hassle. And Migliavacca Wine Company was closed.
Wow. So 97-year break, and then you revived it.
So then, so we made our first barrel of wine in 2016. But then we actually officially launched it and started selling wine in 2019. So 100 years later. So 1919 to 2019.
Yeah, the math all worked.
Perfect. But were you in charge of the math on this?
No, clearly she's running it. She knew all the dates, and I wanted to start selling wine well before. I was like, no, we need to start selling, and she had sort of the fullness and perfection of time was there. Yeah.
That's way cool. Nice.
We'll call it perfection. Yeah.
Yeah. We actually haven't sold much wine since 2019 either, so that's presented an issue as well.
Well, just wait till this publishes.
Yeah.
No,
it has really, the pandemic hit right after 2019.
Well, that's the thing, he gets so mad and frustrated. I'm going to cut you off. Yeah, because he gets mad. He's like...
We've launched a wine club.
It's been 5 years. We should be selling more wine. We should be selling more wine, and I should be hitting the pavement harder than I am. Absolutely. However, it was official in November of 2019. The pandemic hit, in March, so a few months later. So we haven't had a full run at it yet in the way that 5 real years. But Vince is impatient, and that's okay because I have your signature. So,
well, I just want to make more wine. We have other wines that are coming, that are in the pipeline, that we started 3 years ago, cultivating other vineyards, and their vineyards actually, some of them that we farm ourselves, and so there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that are in the products that we make, and I'm very proud of them. I'm very happy that Katie so far has liked everything that we've made.
I'm really fortunate. I have total trust in Vince. I make fun of him a lot and pick on him a lot. And the same, he does that to me as well. But I feel so lucky to have met him, and he's making some amazing wines, and to be able to tell the story through the wine. And you had put it, Vince, very eloquently in an interview we did. It tells the story of the place that we grew up, and I think that for me, it's obviously really special and important, and it's a story that I've discovered as a little kid, in the home that I grew up in. And I remember thinking someone has to do something about this, or it needs to come back to life. So it's important to me, but I also think it's important to Napa. I think it makes Napa more interesting. So it's a piece of my history for sure, but it's part of Napa's fabric that just makes it more interesting, makes the story more interesting. Because again, we're not talking I mentioned the commercial building, and we're not talking about someone that just had a winery, shut down before Prohibition. Okay, done deal. This was Giacomo had significant influence in downtown Napa, and was really responsible for a lot of early businesses that existed in downtown Napa back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. So,
nice.
Yeah, I think it's a fun, it's one more element to downtown Napa that makes it more interesting.
Yeah. Well, especially when you have history like the Migliavacca Mansion, and just being able to build something back and not break things apart. It's so much harder, but so worth it. So,
yeah,
commend you guys on that.
It honestly, it feels like a gift that's kind of being given both ways. I felt like this amazing prize had landed in my lap when I met her and heard about the story, but then it's actually among the projects that I'm involved in. This one, it really feels like it's just by its mere existence is giving something back. That there's an ethos behind it. That there's a sense of preservation. There's wine is about story, and the last thing the valley needs are more super expensive wines by people that are attaching stories that are sort of fabricated out of thin air. We have plenty of those, and those can be great wines, and we welcome all comers to the game, and come make our wines better. Lavish as much money as we can on cellar workers and equipment, and we will make the finest wines in the world with the best farming practices ever.
But it's got to have some soul to it.
But the soul that can come with a story like this, and the way it makes you feel about the place that you grew up and you were connected to, and your own family's heritage too. I'm not a Migliavacca, but I am of Italian descent, and it is special to think about some of the really early influences in this valley that sort of were the ones that discovered you could grow world-class wine in this place specifically. And,
Are we allowed to talk about Mr. Morosoli?
Well, that's exactly where I was going with it. I'm just gesturing here, the Morosoli name and a lot of those names that are still around that had plantings of Sangiovese and Vermentino. And now so much of it's gone to Cabernet, but it's been fun to revive some of these old Italian varietals as well.
So as we speak about the Vermentino, which I just polished off, by the way, thank you. If you had to pair this with one police log entry, what would it be?
I was going to say Popeye's chicken sandwich, but you caught me off guard.
I think I have one. This was on a Saturday. At 2:20 in the afternoon, report of a drunk woman stumbling and staggering on Main Street. Police contacted the woman, who was not drunk or in distress.
She was just having
I think she just had one glass.
She could have been filming a TikTok.
She could have been.
Tell us a little bit about this. This is amazing.
Isn't it great?
It's so good.
It's
so refreshing.
So good. I have to say
it's nice
so
because
good.
it's not like Sauvignon Blanc. It's not like Chardonnay. It's just like a cool new.
More like vodka.
It's so easy to drink, right? But it's great with food. Has great acidity. This is a star in my mind. It's one of my favorite. We were just talking about this the other day.
Yeah, it's.
Do you not want to do the Vermentino? No, that's out of the question. Yeah, we have because I think interesting whites are. I feel like everybody loves, or a lot of people enjoy the red. Okay, and a lot of red wine drinkers in the world. But their biggest reaction, what I get from people is the Vermentino. It's really fun for me to watch people experience it because I get people that are like, I only drink Chardonnay, or I only drink Sauvignon Blanc, and then I am, just try it, just see what you think, and they end up. The reaction's always
the surprise is fun. It's a really nice wine, and with all credit to our growers, that's a relationship that goes back. This is 19.
Mm-hmm.
So this was all Mahoney. So Francis Mahoney is a grower in Carneros. He's one of the pioneers of Carneros that was, again, as grape plantings went other places, Carneros, that was a place guys like us back in the 80s and our fathers before us might have gone and like dumped a couch or an old mattress out on the hillside there. Like that's kind of what Carneros was for. And
are you speaking from experience?
Yeah.
I grew up in those hills a lot. I had friends that
There's been a lot of couches in the woods, is what he's saying.
I'm excited for when our 2021 comes out because that's a pairing. We've had to expand that because the demand for that Vermentino it's strong. People have really reacted well to it. So we've expanded the crop. I have a very limited amount of that Vermentino that comes from the Mahoney Ranch. I inherited it from my mentor, who you guys interviewed a few weeks ago. It was Kirk Vange. I've been working with him since my start when I moved back here, and actually we go way back, like you guys do to high school. But this Vermentino was something that I had worked with since my beginning with him. And I saw it go through these iterations where he was trying to find a place for it in his portfolio. And it was always good at Vange, and I loved it. And I still have bottles of the old Vange Vermentino. But then he tried it in this brand called Marauder, and it went into like this pirate bottle. And it never really found its footing in the Vange portfolio. And eventually his business director, general manager, decided, hey, this is complicating our sales more than it's adding to anything. And Kirk, after decades of splitting that block with the only other person in that block is his father. The only other Mahoney Vermentino from this block that's made is at Saddleback. Nils Vange makes it. And Kirk dropped it and said, that might be a good one for you. So cool. we share that block to this day with Nils Vange.
Nice. And that's hard to find. I mean, there's no that's probably the only Vermentino in Napa. I can't imagine.
Well, we found the other. It's like, because we had to expand it, and just this last year, the place where we make our wines is an old family friend of mine, the Bartolucci's, who own Madonna Estate. It's there on the corner of Old Sonoma Road and Highway 12. And they have Vermentino.
But yes, there is not.
That's about it.
Yeah.
And Napa too. There's a little bit more in Sonoma, but yeah, they're
cool.
Mm-hmm.
I take it. Well, if you had to pair again, your favorite police log with that, what would you do, Vince?
Well, I think this is perfect because it's a little self-deprecating. This is our only white wine that we make, but here on Saturday, May 28th at 11:39 in the morning, a caller said a white utility trailer on Oak Avenue was an eyesore. So, cheers to our white wine. It's got a beautiful luster to it. It's not in any way an eyesore.
Not at all.
Katie,
you got one.
Yeah. Okay. Police assisted with a person who was reportedly acting hysterical and combative toward family members on Redondo Court. I feel like I might be related. I don't know. And what's wrong with that? Acting hysterical and combative toward a family member,
I mean, if you're hysterical combative towards Vince for wine now, I don't understand.
It's like it's family.
Yeah.
It's how things go.
Exactly.
Oh dear.
We'll see what happens by the time we get to the red.
I might be hysterical and combative by the time we leave here.
Sure.
Indeed.
This is escalating quickly.
Yeah, well, there might be another police report.
Have you ever? Okay, so here's a question.
Did Hillary Redwood? You ever had theirs?
Did you ever wind up in the police log as a longtime resident of St. Helena?
Yes, not by name, but in the way that I think almost anyone who grew up in St. Helena did at some point. Like, whether
for what?
Well,
let's hear it. We want names.
Yeah.
We're here to clear the air.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd be able to go back and point.
Yeah, you are.
To it.
Were Katie, you saying that to act cool? Like, to be edgy?
I mean, if I've made it, you had to have made it. I feel like you had a little more spunk than I did.
Katie, have you ever made it? A police log?
No.
No.
I mean, No, like our speeding tickets and things.
Yeah, I know we made it for spinning donuts in the Safeway parking lot. Like, it was a prom night, and I was of the crowd that wasn't cool enough to do anything cooler than spinning donuts.
Wait, so did you leave from prom?
I wasn't with the woman, if that's what you're asking.
No, I mean, did you like go to prom and then in the tuxedos were like, let's go do this? Or was it I didn't even go to prom?
And all no, this was after prom.
Okay.
I remember it was prom, and I don't remember whether it was junior year or senior year because they both ended sort of the same way. Drop the dates.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a vision. Was this a tuxedo or a t-shirt incident?
No, still in suits.
Did you drop the dates out in Corners?
One of the dates I was. She's probably listening right now because this is very local. I know we made it in that night. But there were other, the day. We don't have to get into
sweating right now. It's just totally sweating.
Aaron Phillipson, I'm sorry.
Lots of editing.
Lots of editing.
Oh, Vince is popping more wine.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to open another bottle of Vermentino.
Oh, that's good, Vince. That's good. Oh my gosh.
Do we have a good old one to throw in?
Oh yeah, let's look at the old ones. This is 2016.
Well, by old I mean 2016.
Oh, this is a gold. I feel that Vince has to read this one. This is good.
Is this the highlight of the night?
All right, this is the here we go. This is classic.
The creme de la creme.
Yes, it's 11:20 on Thursday the 28th. Looks like. No, excuse me, Saturday, April 30th.
AM?
11 in the morning.
Saturday, April 30th, 11:20. A neighbor's 600-pound pig was on the loose on Bella Vista Court. An officer responded to help, and the animal was coerced back into her pen, only to escape again into a dilapidated enclosure that was unfit for an animal of her size. Wow, this is like pros. They've gotten. I remember this. They used to be a little bit more literary.
Yes.
Yes.
And now they're a little more literal. It's
so well said.
It's
well said.
No, because I like this, and I know that this is a podcast, so the visuals don't really help. But you've given me a printout of what the old police dog used to look like. It's like analog,
yeah.
And then now it's digital. You've got printouts from the internet that tell us line by line. And actually, I'll say this about the St. Helena Police Log. This feels more familiar, and this is really special for me too, because every year we have some visitors. My dad's old high school buddies come down. They live in Oregon now, but he grew up in Stockton. So all these Stockton boys come out with their families. They spend a weekend at our house. They all play a card game called Pedro. And one of the things that's like a pillar of the event is a ceremonial reading of the highlights of the St. Helena Police Log from the entire year before. And it's done by somebody who's so devoted to this. He doesn't even live in St. Helena. But they made fun of my dad for moving to St. Helena from Stockton and, quiet town, all this. And then they found out about this police log. And this one guy, Steve-O, is the one who does it. And it lasts about an hour or two. And he just goes through the highlights reel. And it's this style of writing that captured his imagination 20 years ago when he started doing it.
Is Steve-O looking for a marketing internship?
He would be interested.
I just want to be invited to the 1 hour reading.
He's it comes up I think in the fall. I'll let you know.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
We'll bring hats.
Good.
Yeah. Well, so the St. Helena Police Log, near and dear to our hearts. When I was deployed, my mom would always send me copies of it to read. You were obviously spent some time in the Middle East as well. Did you ever was this a connection to home you might read or look up? Did anyone ever send you a copy of the?
Yeah, the Star I would. They would include it in care packages if anything ever came through. I didn't have care packages coming on a regular basis. Yeah. I'm one of 5 children, and I was number 2, which is the one that always takes care of himself and makes sure that the parents don't need to worry about ever. But every once in a while there was a care package and there would be a St. Helena Star in it.
Cool.
I wrote a few pieces for the Star, which I think you've done too, just to sort of bring that little bit of whatever you're experiencing back to St. Helena.
Yeah. Well, for a moment, sorry to derail us from the the rest of the story. But
Yeah,
tell us
about Migliavacca.
This my favorite line for Vince. Enough about me. What do you think about me? So he could talk all night. It's fine.
You guys, then I have a lot of questions about the pig.
Okay.
Oh, well, let's talk about that for a minute.
I want to hear about Vince's.
Let's hear about you.
Let's just hear about Vince's
and then we'll
story.
circle back to the
Vince has a fascinating story about what he did for like 10 years.
Yeah,
it is really.
Well, just the
cool.
brief.
It is.
It's only interesting in as much as it brought me to 2016 to that weekend in Tahoe, and I met Katie, and I had a very smooth landing back from 10 years, some of which were very, very good, some of which were very, very difficult.
Explain what you did,
Chris. I worked for the Foreign Service, which is our diplomatic corps, and I was like a Middle East specialist. I at the time, much better than I ever could again or now, spoke Arabic, was trained in Dari, which is the Afghan dialect of Persian, and so I spent time in all of those, the lovely places, like Afghanistan and Jerusalem, which was that was our outreach arm to West Bank, Gaza, and then my final tour was in Libya, and finished there, and I started rethinking about, ways to come home. I didn't leave the service because I disliked it. It was just I was ready to move on to another adventure, I guess. One that was maybe more my own, and moving back home, connecting with family and connecting with deep roots here. But I love this place.
I remember you saying that too when I met you in 2016, that you were wanting to move back to Napa and you were ready to put roots down in Napa and kind of find your next thing that you were going to do.
Yeah, and it wasn't certain. I spent another couple of years abroad, a year in France and a year in Italy. I did a master's in enology and viticulture from sort of a consortium of their top wine schools out there. That each country has sort of the place that it's UC Davis, and they've banded together in a program called Vinifera, and it's all international students, Chinese and Russian and Ethiopian, and a fair number of Europeans, a few other Americans. And so that was great. I loved those couple of years. It reacquainted me with wine. We all grew up doing wine stuff around here, whether in vineyards or on bottling lines or cellar work. It's like a paper route, but when you grow up in Napa, you end up touching vineyards somehow. So it was nice to sort of relearn the methodology and the why of what you do all that for.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and then, but I tell people too that I was really just so motivated to come home and connect with family and friends that, like, had Napa Valley been famous for the quality of its bacon and not its wine, I would have been, in southern France studying pig science,
Did you
with
do that for the segue? For Hillary's segue?
I did, in fact,
this
because
is why he was
and that's very true. I used to say that all the time, that I would study pig science if it's what it took to bring me back home.
And now we have 600 pounders.
And now we have a 600-pound pig, and who knew that these two passions could be married?
Do you think they wait? I just want to know the pig's name. I feel like it's like a Delilah.
Biscuits and gravy.
I hate that they put it in a cage that was too small.
I know. Well, but it obviously didn't stunt its growth. Good for that pig.
A dilapidated enclosure that was unfit for an animal of her size.
It is a her. I think it's Delilah.
Probably. Hey there, Delilah. Get out of that cage.
Is she?
It's not for
they use the word coerced, dilapidated. These are
Linda Williamson words.
These are
this
Linda
is word
Williamson
of the
words.
day.
Yeah, these are $1 words.
Yeah.
Are you reconsidering your?
I want to know what happened to her.
Your profession right now?
I'm going to call Linda Williamson tomorrow.
We love her. Anyway.
That was my only follow-up questions. I want to know what happened. I want to know her name. I would adopt her. Wallace would love her. I see this going very well for me. It's the start of my farm that I've always wanted to know.
What year is this from?
2016.
That one's from 16.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we know enough.
They live a while.
That's what I'm
Bella
saying.
Vista.
We know enough that it's from 16. It was on Bella Vista Court.
So I'm just going
It's
to
a
start
600-pound
I'm
pig.
going to start knocking on
I
doors.
bet you could find this answer, and this is the type of town St. Helena is. I bet you could find this answer within 3 door knocks.
Should I post it on this Facebook
Yep.
page?
I think this could be an interesting challenge.
It could be. You know when they do those like Overheard LA and they find the person
Yes.
who, they do this outreach and they find the person with the snake tattoo that was at the gym. We do that with a 600-pound pig at Bella Vista Court.
Should I start an Overheard Napa Valley page?
Oh my God, why haven't we done that yet?
I don't even know what that is.
You haven't overheard?
They've
Overheard
overheard
in
London,
San Francisco.
overheard San Francisco, overheard LA. Oh,
Very fun.
I find it very
Very
entertaining.
fun. Anyway, Overheard Napa Valley. You have it. You heard it here first, folks. So, with what kind of bacon would you pair this next wine?
Yes, our Sangiovese.
Nice transition,
Yeah,
Chris.
you're the bacon. You're the bacon.
I never got my degree in pig science.
Neither did I.
You denied me my dreams. I got stuck here, and I signed this piece of paper, and the die are cast.
You guys could go into medicine. I use a lot of pig parts there.
They do, don't they? Yeah.
It's an option. I mean, if this doesn't work out.
And they do like testing on pigs too, right?
Oh, yeah, I have a whole
they're
thing of-
incredibly intelligent. I've learned this about pigs,
Oh yeah.
right?
I think so. I mean, I haven't run any studies lately that use the pig.
Well, and their anatomy
No,
is
they are.
remarkably similar to our own.
Yeah, I mean,
That's-
they use pig valves for heart procedures.
Yeah, there was a man that just did that.
I have pig's feet in my
But it
freezer
didn't-
to practice stitches.
Weird.
Well,
Anyway,
Really?
yeah, this got an offshoot in, but
Interesting.
yeah, that is
yeah, the
interesting.
skin is super similar. So I just go get them at Azteca, and I defrost them when I need to practice a new stitch, and
Oh, so it's not like something you do. You don't like go home at night
not
and
every
like
night.
sit and like turn on Game of Thrones and be like
Oh my god.
like a woman with a crochet needle and just sit there stitching pig's
Like,
feet.
Not,
No?
not every night. No.
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 I've heard her say, "Would you fry me? I'd fry me." She's making a pig costume to wear.
Wow, mask and everything.
Absolutely.
Oh wow.
Puts the lotion on the skin.
Yeah, you know I listen to those murder podcasts every time to fall asleep.
I think Vince.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to a few more of these episodes. I've listened to a few, but I'm just putting together the whole picture here.
It's a
About-
big
He's like
Huh?
me too. The mask.
Well, no, and I just I'm keeping in mind. I'm like, oh, this is Tom Hoppy's daughter, my PE teacher.
Let's hear about that. Let's explore that for a minute.
Well, we used to have a contentious relationship, Tom and I.
Okay.
Not that I ever called him Tom. This might be the first time. So, Mr. Hoppy,
Does it feel good,
Mr.
though?
Hoppy, if you're listening,
So much editing. Please, so much
No,
editing.
this is staying.
yeah, we're offline. We're talking about PE from now on. I got a few watts.
Go on.
No, I was a good kid in middle school, but I was I could be a bit of a handful. Like I was a bit of a smart aleck. And in PE, for some reason, I had an older brother, so that always sort of, you're known when you come in, and
You're blaming it on Mario.
well, but I wasn't that known. There wasn't anything really remarkable about any of us at that point. No, I remember being like, you'd sit on the basketball court, do the warm-ups and everything.
On your number.
And because I was Mario's little brother, and I was in 6th grade and he was in 8th grade, I knew the 8th graders that were in our class. I remember Lindsay Bueller. She was a babe in 8th grade.
Yeah, for sure.
Still is, I imagine. I mean, I'm not sexualizing 8th graders here, but at the time I was 6th grade, and I'm a gay man now. So let's not cut. Yeah, we gotta cut.
What you're trying to say is in 6th grade, he was the girl to crush on.
Yeah, Lindsay Bueller, and we had sort of a. I mean, I don't know.
You got all wound up and then you go spin donuts. Let out some steam.
Well, that was the punishment. You would go spin. You'd have to. If you got in trouble, you'd go take a lap. That was Mr.
Yep.
Hoppy. He'd say, "Take a lap," and that's what you had to do. And I had to do that a couple times with Lindsay Bueller because we were joshing one another too much. Joshing. Like we were, she was giving me a hard time, and I'd give her a hard time back. And then I started doing that with Mr. Hoppy himself. Like he would razz me a little bit because he felt like that I was the person that he could. And then I remember one time I sort of snapped back at him with something, and I don't remember what it was, but it was either making fun of like his mustache or basketball or the team or something, but he didn't like it. I crossed the line, and I got sent for a lap.
Just one.
I wish your dad was here.
Yeah.
We're gonna get him on one.
He's a little decrepit right now. So he had surgery last week.
Well, we need
non-weight
Tom
bearing.
and Vince to talk about.
Yeah, we got to clear the air.
Yeah.
It's, we never talked about it after that, you know.
Stay tuned. We'll do
Bonus
this
episode.
live on 99.3.
Yeah.
We should. Okay.
Anyway, so back to Katie's saying.
What would you pair? Do you have a bacon? Do you have a section on the pig that you would pair this with?
Not the feet.
It would be great with a pork chop because it's a very food friendly wine.
It is a very food friendly wine.
Yeah.
What do you like best with it, Katie?
A pasta dish.
Yeah.
We actually just for our wine club. We just did our first wine club shipment in the spring, and we had a great risotto that went with it, and it was
There's
actually
a local one, right?
The risotto.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was
Not at all.
the risotto. The rice came from a place in Pavia,
Okay. Cool.
and then the
Well, explain what Pavia is a little bit.
Pavia is where Giacomo is from. So
I was gonna say that's in Italy, right?
Yeah,
like
it's
I'm
in-
not.
yeah.
It's not like
It's
a
in
place.
She said that in the first start. She did. I'll give.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
I
but I was
say-
gonna say,
Oh,
but
that's right.
it was almost at like a restaurant here. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's behind
restaurant.
Ponchos.
Well,
So it's like we're talking about Italy, right?
Which is
Pavia-
famous for its risotto.
It is, yeah.
She's been there, and I just went there this summer, and it's like that's what they are famous for.
I have a great a friend who helped me put together the packages, and she was like, "Did you know this about the risotto? It's in Pavia, and it's actually originated there." And anyway, so the risotto was from Pavia,
Cool.
and then we had that same friend. She knows how to whittle. She's a wood whittler on the side. She whittles wood.
That was a local piece I was thinking about because she made the little.
She made the spoons.
spoons,
Yeah,
yeah.
she made the spoons, which is very
Cool.
important to have a
proper.
wooden spoon with a prop. There's a hole in it so that
Yeah.
the water can drain as you stir it. So there were a few local, elements
Yeah.
to it, and then we had a recipe card and the design of it was created by Gatto Rivera, and they're here in Napa, and they're a great design firm that just down the street from here.
Nice.
So, and I went to school with Tim Gatto, and then his parents lived next to my parents before we were both born. So, good old
Cool.
Napa.
No
Yeah.
way. So everyone in your wine club got
They have
risotto and a spoon
Mhm.
sent to them
and then
just for
this
being in the
whole
club.
little- yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't know
recipe.
that we can do that every time, but I'm so
Wow.
grateful for the people that signed up.
That's cool.
There will definitely be a recipe that goes with every single shipment,
Mhm.
a different recipe that goes with every shipment.
Cool.
And we'll see what else we can add in there.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how has the selling been? Like, what's the hard? I guess let me step back. What has the hardest part about restarting the Migliavacca brand been?
Time, a bit of time, my time. So, I have a full-time job that pays the bills and gives me the ability to put money into the wine company, and it's the reason I was able to get it started in the first place. So that can be challenging. I think, I'm not a natural salesperson, and so for me to tell the story, I feel a little, it's just, I don't go out and sell it like I think I should or could if I didn't get stuck in my head about it.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring out, how to approach, I think because of the size of our production, getting a distributor behind us or going to a restaurant that wants a larger amount of wine to purchase from you, it's kind of holds us back a little bit.
Right.
But honestly, I would say the biggest challenge is just me needing to go out and try to sell
Do
more
it,
wine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like it's really just a matter of me getting out there more.
Nice.
I mean, there's really no other.
But you guys have had some pretty awesome placements. Can we say the placements? Where some of them are? French Laundry?
Sure.
Cool. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a huge,
That's big leagues.
huge.
Yeah, that's a really special.
Yeah. And but what's cool is these places that are huge Napa Valley icons appreciate and like having that history behind something that they can explain. They can say, hey, check this out. This is something that's been around for a while and it's revived and share that. That's really cool.
That's been the feedback, that it's, the story is really special, and the connection to Yountville too. So there, that we have the connection to downtown Napa, but also my great grandfather used to own. He lived in Yountville, and he owned, his driveway went directly through the property that is now Ranch Market.
Cool.
So, that's a fun. And we have my absolute favorite road in probably everywhere is Yountville and Yountville Road. It's such a beautiful place. And Vincent had a sign put there for my birthday last year.
He cleans up the couches
I signed
litter,
her to clean up the couches.
I'm trying to think, what's the official? It's a litter. It's the litter control and the
adopt. Yeah, I'm friends with the road department guys, and
You've got a lot of good friends.
Mine is Oakville Crossroad, which was special to me. That's where I worked my first vintage, was at B Cellars, and so I do litter removal for Oakville. And one of my wines is Ambrose. It does wildflowers. But for Katie, it was last year, right? For your 35th birthday?
Just kidding.
For your 21st birthday?
Put on the napkins after.
No, it seemed like it should be something special. And so we adopted Yountville Road.
Vince is a great gift giver. So there's a connection to Yountville. There's a connection, and people like the story, right? And so when they can tell the visitors or their guests about the story, I think that helps. We've had some great placements, and I've had some great luck. Nothing about this has been easy in that. So when the winery was closed in 1919, no one in the family, touched it since I came around and restarted it. And so there weren't, nothing was handed over to me in terms of, anything, aside from a big box of archives. There was no connection to fruit sources, and I'm so grateful for Vince. No financial backing. So this is really starting from the ground up, and it's hard. But I will say that the positive response and feedback that I've had from people is so overwhelmingly I'm so grateful for it, because it makes me feel like, okay, this is something that's interesting. It's not just my own story. I feel like it resonates with a lot of people, because, the way that I look at it is, it felt like it was a story worth retelling and deserving of a second chance. And I feel like so many times, so often in life, something is lost, right? Something feels lost. It's a missed opportunity. We lose, people, we lose possessions. But the chance to kind of bring the legacy remains, and you can bring that back and tell the story today. And I feel like a lot of people, the response when I kind of tell that version of the story, it resonates. I remember I sent out a newsletter, and it was in it was actually October of 2020, after the fires. Vince, his family's home burned down, 50 years, 5 kids raised there. And I had sent out this newsletter to some of our subscribers about just loss, and feeling the ability to still celebrate something that once was. And that is how I really approach the company and what we're doing, and it's the chance to kind of start over again, and the story's still being written, but I can tell it the way that I want to, because there have been hardships, in my own life, and the feeling of loss, of what something was or how someone was, and this is my chance to kind of retell the Migliavacca story as it is today. So
that's very well said. So well said. Cool.
And it's kind of like you've told me, about your story, just what you want to do with More Soli or selling, having your own label, and I think I love that, and I feel like I want to tell you. I mean, you are doing it, but it's like you have to do it because Napa needs you to do it, and if you don't do it, then who's going to do it? And that can't be something that's lost, in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
And I think what's so cool about what you've done here is just preserving even simple things like the label, and how you've taken that old label that you found one old bottle, and then readapted that into your new label.
So we have the one bottle that's sitting here tonight, but I have a couple different versions of labels. This one that's the one that's currently on our bottles, I've seen the most of in photos. I don't have a physical label I only have pictures of it.
Right.
So I like this one. Sort of was the most familiar when I look at it because it reminds me of what I remember seeing as a child, and what really struck me of like, what is this? And I'm really curious about this. And so we might try to. We're going to modernize that a bit, and it felt right, and it feels right now to have it be what it is right now. And we went through so many iterations of different designs before we had come up with the label, and we went back and forth, and they're really beautiful designs that are very modern. And at the end of the day, like 10 p.m. the night before we pulled the trigger on the decision, it was going back to the original. And
I remember when we had that conversation.
I remember exactly what I was doing too.
I remember too. I pulled over. I was in Glen Ellen coming back from a vineyard, and it was late, and I like stopped the car and I pulled over, and it was this weird moment of like, we had invested all of this time and all of this money with these very expensive label designers.
12 different versions.
And they had really taken us to like the ends of the earth with what this could be. Beautiful stuff. We still use them for everything. It's called Cult Partners. They're fantastic. But then to like sit there and sort of sheepishly admit to one another, well, what about just going with the one that we like gave them as the source material? And I don't know how we said that, but it was like I didn't feel like I could say it, and she was like, well, I don't know if I could say it. There's no money. The Migliavacca, the buildings were torn down. The mansion is owned by somebody else. There was not some vast reserve of Migliavacca funds to get this thing going again. So it was totally bootstrapped. I mean, we made our first barrel of wine the only way it could be made. It was really good wine, but every expense was spared in trying to like make sure that we could get this thing off the ground. And so that label that night was, the reason I think we remember it is because it really undergirded what the spirit of this company feels like.
Yes.
That it is sort of preserving that legacy kind of.
Preserving the legacy, bringing it back to life, honoring what was, but then moving forward, we are going to come out, we're going to release something that's a little bit more modern. And I think someone asked me a great question like 6 months ago. What would Giacomo do if he were still here today? If he were here today and brought the brand into modern day times, what would it look like? And it wouldn't look like it does right now. He would have done something different. It would be.
Nah, he was an innovator.
It would be different. So
he was Napa County's first patent holder.
That's right.
There's a
corker.
Cork pulling apparatus that is at the Napa Valley Museum, and the first patent in the Napa Valley was granted to Giacomo Migliavacca.
Cool.
From all the records that we've been able to find, yes, yeah.
Well, I heard that somewhere along the way, and I've just parroted it.
Well, Giacomo got it right. You guys are continuing on legacy. It's very cool.
Speaking of new history,
Mhm.
I think we need to touch on what we had. What we had for dinner, you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because this is very much a Napa Valley local thing. I don't think tourists come and know about this.
Are we talking about?
We had a taste competition between Clemente's
Mm-hmm.
and Lawler's
Malfatti.
So they're liquor stores that sell ravioli out of the back for people that don't know.
Which is
This is a
absolute jewel.
deep Napa secret. Not even a secret. It's
not a
best
secret.
it's best kept secret. Best
known secret?
Worst kept secret. Worst kept secret. And as a native St. Helenan who sort of came to Napa for the same reasons, Hillary and Chris, that you guys did, for shopping and movies, it was the big city. But I've since moved back, and I live in downtown Napa. I love downtown. I was born at the Queen, as was Katie. But Katie,
We do everything together.
actually, she was born with my little brother. We found out recently that they're in the Napa Register. They're on the same page in the birth announcements.
Oh, really?
Because
Yeah,
my
we
brother's
were-
birthday is one day before hers.
Yeah, we were both at the Queen at the same time.
Napa Valley
Was
is
that
not
when they
small.
had shared rooms?
I actually think she might be my sister, because I think there might have been a switch at birth, which we've always suspected about Paul. You know? But Katie is Napa, and I moved back here 5 years ago. Napa is going to be my home. I love this city. For me, it's a proximity issue to vineyards and also to an old dive bar down in Oakland that I'm a partner in. St. Helena is just that extra 25 minutes that makes my drive down to whatever I've got going on down there a little further.
I respond to hospitals in Vallejo at 3 a.m, and once I hit downtown Napa, every time I'm like,
Why can't I just live in downtown Napa?
I'm moving. Like that extra 20 minutes it's killer. But anyway, in the daytime I like it.
Yeah, and my family's still up in St. Helena, and it's nice to go up. But she is. I've described her. She will kill me later for saying this, because it's
You're
like
gonna say it.
no,
I know
she
you're saying
hates it when I say it. But people in Napa know the name Migliavacca because it's on buildings and it's on a sign in front of this mansion. There's a mausoleum, the biggest, nicest mausoleum in Tulacay Cemetery.
It's not the truth anymore.
Goodman's is Altamira. Yeah, sorry. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, I went to school with Sunny.
Altamira is like over on the other side, though. But in the mausoleum row, like the Migliavaccas have a beautiful mausoleum there. And one of the things I've loved about this journey with Katie is that I've gotten to really understand Napa. She's brought me on a journey to like become a Napa resident, which is different than somebody that lives up valley.
Mm-hmm.
different than Rutherford.
It's different than Rutherford for
Yeah.
sure.
I don't know if it's better.
Yeah.
I don't either.
No, they have a gas
I
station
don't know where
here.
he's going
I don't
with
know if
this.
Rutherford's better.
They have a stop sign here. They
I
have a
don't
gas
know.
station. They have and so one of those things that I was introduced to early on, and you guys of course know, is Clemente's is here in Val's Liquor, which is the closest liquor store, and it's next to my barber where I just got my hair cut today. And they're the old, the inventors of malfatti, which means poorly made or incorrectly made or a mistake in Italian.
Mistake, yeah.
But he was the guy at the Depot, which was the Italian place
to
back in the 70s.
My grandparents were there all the time.
Yeah.
Great grandparents too.
But I remember Lawler's when I was little. Like I remember going
The
to
liquor store?
Yeah.
Well, so the other one is Lawler's,
Yeah.
which I didn't know about.
Like-
Yeah.
Hillary, you need to explain the rest of that thought.
So there
This
was
is
a
another thing
hot.
to talk to Tom about.
I used to drive down, not me drive. My dear parents used to drive me down to Napa probably 4 nights a week for ballet lessons, and we would get then dinner a lot, like to go afterward. And so we would go. My mom would take me to the liquor store, and we would get some malfattis that I would eat on the drive home.
So good.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
we did the taste test. What
Yeah,
does everyone think?
I hate even having to.
Yeah, I don't know that we can go on the record with this.
We like different attributes of.
Yes, we like different attributes of both.
I will always remain a Clemente's guy. I love Lawler's is great, but the Clemente's is always my spot.
The Lawler sauce really hit me right tonight.
But the sauce
It was
is-
so
It-
good.
The sauce in
It
Lawler's
did.
It
was.
never does me.
But
wrong.
we are right across the street from Clemente's in this mansion. This is the Migliavacca Mansion. It's at 1475 4th Street, where ABC Bakery, well, it's now Winston's, and Chateau Barbershop and Val's, which are three of the most local serving businesses in Napa.
Yep.
That locals use and go to. We're right across the street, and if the Migliavacca Mansion turned into anything in the future, say the Migliavacca tasting room, Migliavacca offices, but it'd be interesting if Clemente's, like their old spot at the depot, if they had maybe a better spot to serve their food from.
Cool.
Like right at this table is what.
Yeah, no. As much malfatti as I can eat.
Yeah, both really good.
Both really good. Thanks for bringing us back to that, Hillary.
Yeah.
That was,
and our dessert tonight is another Napa staple.
Which Katie again is way more familiar with.
Buttercream bakery.
Also memories that they have my favorite cake in the entire world.
Yeah. Is it the champagne cake?
Yeah, of course it is.
Mm-hmm.
With the buttercream, not the whipped cream. Just to clarify.
But the butter, So my birthday still to this day, 22 years into life, my mom will ask me, what do you want for your birthday cake? And it's always buttercream.
Same.
Every time. Yeah.
My little brother used to come home and send me help wanted signs and be like, I don't know why. This is what you need to do in life. Just come work at Buttercream. We know you'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the cake is pink.
It's the best. I'll go get it.
So, the most important part of the wrapping this up is finding out where we can buy, how we can get a hold of some Migliavacca wine, so you can get your proper 911 wine bump of at least 3 more likes on Instagram.
Yes. Our website,
Hillary, and who else?
Tom
Hoppy.
Tom is turning out to be quite the Instagram creeper.
Really? We will get. I'm sure we'll get Linda Bloom, something like this too. All the names.
Yes.
But sorry, we buried
our website, migwine.com. Migwine.com.
MIGWINE.com.
Mm-hmm.
And we can order all the wine there.
Yep, all the wine there.
And join the club.
Or just go to dinner at the French Laundry or any of your finest restaurant wherever you are in the United States. I'm sure they have Migliavacca.
And if they're not serving it, get up and leave.
If they're not serving it, you are not at one of the finest restaurants in the United States.
Yeah,
that's how you're going to know. So we are moving into other territories. It's been exciting to go, and we just took the wine to Jackson Hole, Wyoming a few weeks ago. And what's really interesting, this story is very Napa. I mean, we're talking about the liquor store across the street from this mansion here. But when you take that story to a place like Jackson, I took it to Hawaii this summer. I was in Italy. I was in Pavia with bottles
doing all the hardships for this company.
You know what? That just sounds very much like you're carrying everything, and I don't know that I appreciate that. Don't cut this part out. Keep going.
One of these days, Katie will get on the road, I'm sure. No, but I took a bottle to Pavia, Italy. There's a wine shop in Pavia that is going to bring our Vermentino over.
No way. That's cool.
They know the Migliavacca name. Her great grandparents.
In Pavia, it's
everyone's there. Yeah.
It's not quite like Smith.
There's a bus company that's called Migliavacca. It's a very common.
There's a pastry shop in Milan called Migliavacca. A dress designer in Indonesia.
I still have that set up on my eBay updates. A new book about electricity comes out by Bruce Migliavacca.
I tried it on. Okay, yeah. With Alyssa and Brian.
Yes.
So anyway, the wine is finding its way other places, and it's been interesting to carry that story outside of Napa because the story resonates outside of Napa too. We know Napa from the inside, but everybody else sees it and they have imaginings about it, and for them to, even if they've never been here, but to experience Napa from something that's different than what they think of as a New World wine story. Mm-hmm. I delight in telling people, back to the French, that 1866. I mean, this is 11 years after the classification of the Grand Crus in Bordeaux. And so we talk about we are New World, and we don't need to shy from that. This is different than Old World. This is different than Italy and France and Spain. But we have a heritage here. We have a history here in this valley, and in the valleys around us, and in the foothills, and in Lodi, places that aren't always as celebrated as Napa. But there's a really cool heritage and history here that we can be really proud of. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Katie, thank you for keeping this gem, absolute gem, alive in Napa, and you too, Vince, for making the wine. Does anyone have any
And for
last?
hosting.
Are we
For
done?
hosting us.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thanks.
Well,
Thanks.
do you want to tell where they can find us?
You're the best at that. I don't know. We have some Instagram, I think, and maybe a Facebook.
We do. We both.
Okay.
We don't ever check the Facebook though, so don't.
There's an
I feel like
email.
you guys need a jingle for 911 wine. 911 wine.
Oh, well, there we go.
Copy, paste.
You know,
Like a fire siren? Like a 911?
it's. I think it's called onomatopoeia. I don't know if that's the right word, but it roll. I was saying it all day today. I locked down a domain name today just to, I got
What?
The 911?
Well, I'm starting a podcast soon. It's called Wine11.
Oh, I've heard this too.
I just switched it
If
around.
you do this, I will show up at your door.
Yeah, you should.
I get feisty and protective over this.
Yeah, Wine11. No.
Everyone needs a good villain in their story, so it'll be fun.
We already have enough. We don't need any more.
Anyway, no, what you guys are doing is really cool.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So yeah, find us at 911 Wine Podcast. Spell out all the words. Don't type in the number. You won't find us.
And go to migwine.com and buy yourself some of
Yeah,
this
to
tasty
enjoy
wine.
while you
Excellent.
listen to the episode.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Well, I think we've discovered something.
What's that, Hillary?
These intros and exits go a lot smoother if we're either extremely sleep deprived or had like 4 shots of tequila.
Which one is it tonight? We'll leave that to you as the audience to discover.
Well, we look forward to you guys not canceling us but thinking about
Maybe
it.
just one hateful comment. We haven't even had one yet.
So we look forward to your feedback, but we hope you enjoy.
Maybe we're just that lovable. No one wants to give us any hate mail.
Absolutely the issue.
Or maybe just no one's listening.
We are too lovable. Do
Okay.
not sell yourself short.
Fair enough. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Enjoy your evening and be safe.